I probably don't have to tell you this. Life doesn't come with any instructions. And chances are, if it did, we probably wouldn't read them, especially in today's world. But I'll get to that in just a minute. Now, that isn't to say we don't read books, but we tend to read books about specific areas of our life, like marriage, child rearing, or finances, just to name a few. But there has been a shift over the past 30 years that has moved us away from using only books for how we learn. Can you guess what it is? And who might be responsible? Do you know who this is? Yep, Timothy Berners-Lee. Sir Timothy Berners-Lee. Now, why is he a sir? Well, about 30 years ago, he invented this little thing called the World Wide Web. And as it turns out, Sir Timothy has become the Gutenberg of our age. Although, in my opinion, the web has significantly eclipsed even the printing press, especially in the way that we communicate. But how has this changed the way we learn? Enter Nicholas Carr, a New York Times columnist who in his 2010 book, The Shallows, traces how humans have learned from the time of Plato and Socrates right up to recent times, only 20 years after the web was unveiled. And one of his premises, apropos to this discussion, is the way we read on the web has turned us into skimmers, distracted ones. It's another reason we call it surfing the web. We're just skimming over the waves of information. Anyway, this new way of reading is making it difficult for us to continue to be what he calls deep readers, or to have the ability to read large amounts of material at a single sitting. Now, Carr's book is not a diatribe against the web, but he wants us to understand some of the pitfalls of how we are now taking in information. And I'll show you what he means. Here's a page from your typical news site. It seems pretty straightforward, but if you look closely, you'll see the distractions that Carr is warning us about. One of them is this little piece of technology called the hyperlink, or what we simply call a link. But each link is a potential distraction because we are just a click away from some rabbit trail that may never lead us back to the original article. And he isn't even talking about all the clickbait that you see on the sides and bottoms of these pages. Of course, you're never guilty of clicking on this stuff, right? It'll have to be our little secret. Just for comparison, I thought I would show you a page from an actual book. No hyperlinks, no ads, no clickbait. But you can see the problem that the seasoned web surfer faces just by the sheer density of text, especially when there's 800 pages of it, like in this novel by George Eliot. Here's another example that'll get us a bit closer to how learning has changed in the last 30 years. This is my very first computer, the original IBM PC. And the interesting thing, as far as this discussion goes, is that it came with all of these reams of documentation we felt we had to read, even though this computer had only a fraction of the complexity of the devices we now carry in our pockets. This fall I purchased a new MacBook Pro, and not surprisingly, the only documentation that came with it was this tiny folded piece of paper. Now, how do they get away with this? Well, Apple figured it out before a lot of us did. In a nutshell, our learning has become a lot more independent or individualized. We can now learn by searching for something only when we need to know it, and only one chunk at a time. So, small bits of content when we want it. And here are some of the ways that we do this every day in our online world. Chances are when you search for something, these are the very places you end up, and you probably don't even think twice about it. But the problem with this way of learning is that it is random and it is still distracted. So, what if there was a tool that automated the process of sending people their own personalized content that meets them where they are, parses it out in manageable chunks at just the right time, and is scalable and eliminates the distractions? Of course, you knew that this was all leading to something. So, not to disappoint, let me show you a new online tool that will help us restructure how we learn. First of all, Remarkable Start allows you to aggregate all of your content for a particular topic into one place. You can have multiple topics, each with their own related content. And the application can be set to deliver this content to different people at different times over any period. And yes, it's scalable. You can have as many topics and subtopics as you'd like, each with its own related content, again, delivered to any number of people at different times, and it's all automated. Let's go a little deeper. Let's say we have the overarching topic of transition. Susan and Michael are at different places in their journey, so they will be getting their content delivered to them at the interval best for where they are in their process. And again, there could be lots of different topics under transition, each with their own subtopics and even subtopics of subtopics. So, how do Michael and Susan experience this content? Each starts with a generated email that arrives in their inbox at those set intervals. And all it contains is a little teaser and a link to the content for that particular day. So, let's click on the Go button, and it takes them here. So once they log in, they'll see all the content for that particular interval, possibly an article, it could be of any length, a place where they can download a worksheet or a white paper. They might watch a video. They can rate the content, which is helpful to the administrator. And there's even a place where they can interact or provide an answer to a question that's related to the topic. Now the archive is a little bit different in that it shows all the content under this particular topic, but they can't jump ahead. They can only go back and review content that they've been given access to before. Right now the account screen is not all that exciting, but as they build a history of viewing content and answering questions, they will be able to go back and review that here. So that's a look at the user side. Let's take a look at the admin side. Now the administrator logs in on the same screen, but they get a dashboard. And on this dashboard, they will see all of their users, their content units, the packages that they have put together, and the various categories. And all of this is very flexible, just depending on how you want to use it. But all of this stuff is listed out and can be edited at any time. So for instance, I want to change this. You can see how the content gets entered and laid out. Very simple, straightforward, and easy to use. And you can organize all of your content into various packages and categories. Again, just depending on what you think fits best. Now on the user screen, besides seeing a list of the users, you can see that 2 of them have been assigned to a group leader. The group leader can then keep them accountable because he or she can go back and look at the log of the content that they have accessed, look at how they've answered questions, rated things, and so on. So all of this very straightforward, very easy to use, but highly flexible and allows great scalability in the long term. So to circle back where we started, we established that life doesn't come with instructions, but some of life can. Now we can help people learn in an environment that they've grown comfortable with, without all the thick manuals of yesteryear or the rabbit trails of today. Check us out later at our coming soon website, remarkablestart.com.